I am so excited. We're going to jump right into this conversation with Amanda Halbrook. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
And thank you, thank you. Thanks for having me. Much appreciated. I'm excited. It's been a while since we had like our gal chat. We were just you guys didn't get to hear all the dirty tea that we spilled before we started today. I'm just joking. But no, this is great. It's a phenomenal topic, so relatable to so many folks here. So thank you again for putting it all together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, yeah, we were just talking because the last time I saw you, like, I'm embarrassed to admit, it was, I want to say 7 years ago, right?
In person, right? Like,
In
that's when we
person, in
saw each
person.
other, like, in person, and, we've, like, talked and emailed and, it's 6 degrees of separation in this world, but yeah, when I saw your face pop up on the screen, I'm like, "Gosh, it's been so long."
Well, it went through, before COVID really did change a lot for everybody's industry, but with real estate, we used to go to so many in-person events and speaking things, and it's been so fun to see them coming back again because we all got so used to our comforts of our home and our, doing everything on Zoom, and then I think people are really craving in person again, and so I've just seen so many new events coming up and people, like, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna be there," and I just think that's really cool.
Oh, absolutely. I think we probably, like, push the envelope. So I wanna say it was probably fall of 2020. I literally landed, almost got stuck. I was at an event in Puerto Rico, and I almost got stuck there. Like, 3 days later, they shut everything down. And then I think by that fall, it was very eerie going out to that first event. It was at one of the Gaylord properties, which is huge, right? But it was at maybe 10, 15% capacity. So it was like The
Mm.
Shining.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
It just had a eeriness to it, but I mean, everybody, we did our protocols and all of that jazz and, health first, and yeah, it was fine, but yes, that interaction, and you know me, I'm a huge hugger. I think I had probably PTSD just for not being able to, like, hug people when I saw them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh my
But
gosh. So, yeah, so hopefully we'll have to meet up at a real estate event very soon. That would be a lot of fun. There's not a lot of women in this industry, so we gotta stick together and drag our girl group together. Okay, so let's dive into the conversation here. So you have been I would call a self-directed IRA specialist or professional. Is that kind of like what you would call yourself?
Yeah, the acronym isn't nice because it's like SDIP, but I'm a certified self-directed industry professional, if you're like the alphabet behind the name, if you wanna know what that means, but I've been in the self-directed IRA and 401k world for over 15 years now, so for those of you that are listening, I get the question all the time. It's like, "Are you a financial advisor?" And how we're different, is our company a specialized trust company. So the funny disclaimer is always, we are a passive custodian or recommend or endorse any certificate investment as a sponsor, not attorneys, not CPAs, or tax advice or legal advice, blah, 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 blah. Infotainment purposes only. But my point in saying it like that, since, you gotta have a laugh, is we don't sell investments. I can show you the how, I can show you the right tax advantageous account for you, for your kids, for your business, and then how to invest in what you know. So that's how Melissa and I originally know each other, because I'm the platform that the IRS says that you have to invest in what you want to invest in. And she's got the deals. So you can see how it's a match made in heaven. And that's how we, met, eons ago now.
Yeah. And what I love about working with you, and because we like to educate first, right?
Okay.
That is so important. In fact, we were just kind of talking about this right before we hit the record button, is so many of the people that I work with are new investors who are just now learning why real estate and all the benefits of real estate, and they get so excited with the education, as they should, because we're not taught this in school. And so the more information and the more education about the options and what people can do, is just so important. And so I that's what I'm hoping to do here today is kind of touch on the education of how can people invest with an IRA? Because that's one of the other things when people are learning about real estate, they're like, okay, now I want to do it. And then they're like, where am I getting my money from? And then we kind of go down that trail. We're like, okay, you know, did you save money? That can be invested. Do you have equity in your property that you live in? That can be money. What about an IRA account? That can be money. You know, where and then it kind of like goes through there and then once people get started and then oh my gosh, then from there the options are, limitless. So, where do you start when let's say I'm talking to a client and they're like, "Hey, I switched jobs and my old employer used to contribute to this, investment account or whatever is going on." How does the conversation start when I send somebody over to you and I'm like, "Hey, Amanda's your girl, you gotta talk to her." Where does that conversation start?
Absolutely. So I always start off by kind of talking about the macro to the micro. So you have an old 401k, all right, in this example. Yeah, so if you have an old 401k, IRA, Roth, traditional SEP, simple, all of those types of accounts can be self directed. Let's stop right there. What the heck does that mean? And let's
Great,
just stop
great
right there.
place.
Like, you're
Thank you,
already
stop.
hit the brakes, pump them. Like, you're already getting into jargon. So, here's what it means, guys. It's the accounts
Mm,
that you had at your 401k provider, and I'm not gonna call out a big bank, but insert big bank name here. They're all the same. They even sometimes advertise on their platform, "Hey, you can do a self-directed account." But all they mean is you get to pick a stock bond mutual fund yourself off that screen right in front of your face. And that's what they call self direction. Okay, same types. That's not self direction, guys. Insert sound effect here. blah 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 blah. That's not self direction. Self direction is when you have the same types of accounts. Okay, just what I said: traditional, raw, set, simple, 401ks, right? Except here on a truly self-directed platform, which is what we do here at Specialized Trust, okay? Same type of accounts, but instead of that itty bitty little sandbox full of toys, you now have the whole playground. And what does that let you do? It lets you diversify, is the word they use in our world, but it lets you do what you want to do. Invest in what you know. We aren't born stockbrokers, but you know what? I bet you each of you listening has a floor, a ceiling, and four walls around you. Guess what that's called? Real estate. So it's real estate is such an easy plug and play because it's one of the three basic needs of every human on the planet. So when it goes to, I'm riding this roller coaster called the stock market where I'm just buying. I mean, be honest with yourself. You're just gambling. I'm picking, hoping, praying. I'm trusting the advice of this article that I read or this economist that's yelling on CNN. Like that's what you're basing your financial nest egg and future on, which do you have control over that, Melissa?
absolutely not. Nope. I don't own the company. I have no decision making.
Right? I mean, that's literally, you can have someone just have a bad day and a meltdown in a boardroom and you've lost thousands. You can have someone go on Twitter or Insta and just voice their political opinions and you've now lost money. Like that is just not okay. Like when you're trying to plan for that financial freedom day, that's usually not in the equation. Like, are you okay, establishing your legacy that you're gonna leave to your kids one day to know that they're good without you in just the stock market? And the answer for most is no. That's where that diversification comes in. So you have to this part is a mindset shift, and I know you've had this conversation, Melissa. And when you first say to somebody, "Hey, do you ever think about putting real estate in their retirement accounts?" What do they I mean, they probably look at you like you have 3 eyes first, because
Well,
you
right, because most people automatically think that, "Oh, I don't know how to renovate a house. I don't know how to fix a toilet." Like, that's the HGTV, person on the screen that's, doing all the stuff. Like, I don't have that background. I can't do that. That's what everybody thinks real estate investing is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I always call it the HGTVers because they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I heard about this, or I could use this." The HGTVer version, like, they call that money guy in the car, and they're like, "Oh, yes, I need like $1.2 million to close on this flip," and they're like, "Just shake the money tree." A lot of that money is coming from IRA investors, believe it or not.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Like, that's the
That
part
was
that they
good.
don't show, that doesn't make the sizzle reel, is the fun
Right.
starting off on the
Yep.
back end,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
it's it's a mindset shift. You have this roller coaster, okay, there's your Apple, your roller coaster of the stock market, cyclically, it goes up and down. I mean, I can share stats of what the S&P 500 has done historically. It's a long game. I'm sure you've heard from a financial advisor, when stuff is bad, weather the storm, stick it on out. But if you're in retirement and you need like consistent, predictable cash flow today, you don't have time to stick it out. If you're watching your account go down, it's like, I got to do something now. And you go to a professional and they're just like, you can put it in a bond, or like, and guys, that earns you like, it doesn't hedge inflation, right? You're looking at minimal, 2%, 3% earnings. It's like, you're going broke slowly is what that does. You have to hedge inflation to become ahead, right? A dollar today isn't a dollar tomorrow, right? So the mindset set shift becomes, okay, well, what's real estate? Okay, let's talk. It's tangible, right? Okay, it's not going anywhere. You can kick it, touch it, punch it, right? Okay. It has it's a structure and it's land. I mean, unless you're, on an island where the volcanoes steadily create more land, they're not creating more land out there. So we'll always have value, right? Everything can go to you know what in a handbasket, and you'd still have an asset that's worth something.
Yep.
Okay. People pay rent. Okay. Some days you'll have vacancy, sometimes some months you won't. You have that consistent, predictable rent check, right? And how often do you pay rent? Month after month after month, right? Well, when your IRA owns that house, you're getting checks month after month after month in your retirement account. And so that's one way it grows. Do properties appreciate over time? Well, yes, they do. So,
Always.
so now it grows two ways. I mean, there's really only two asset classes that do that. It's like metals and real estate that grow two ways. Um, you know, the other part too, and I think this is overlooked a lot, Melissa, is, if you have a home, what do you have on that home? Insurance, right?
Ah,
Doesn't
I see where you're going with that. Yep.
Okay. So let's paint, and I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to be like negative Nancy here, but I'm trying to paint like your apples and oranges scenario. What's your doomsday scenario? Why do we have insurance? We can't control Mother Nature, right? What if a tree falls on your house? Or, the tenant was a ding dong and left the stove on? Nobody's hurt, but you had a fire. What happens then? Are we just toast at that point? And the answer is no. If your IRA owns the house, who owns the insurance policy? The IRA. So the funds go right back to your retirement account. Worst case scenario, right? I actually had this scenario happen to a gentleman. He's a client years ago. And he was younger, software engineer guy, and kind of went against his father's wishes for investing. Like, his father was very old school. So since we're on this mindset shift, and he's like, no, dad, I'm going to diversify. And then he had a fire in one of his houses. No one was hurt, but, it was like, yeah, it was total rock, So what do you do at that point? So after getting over that knee jerk reaction of crap, and holding his head in his hands like we all probably would, it's, emotional reaction. And then you look at the numbers. You know what? After the insurance paid out, you know what he ended up doing? He got two properties for the price of one. How about that?
Ah, yep.
You know? So, if that scenario happened, let's say there was a dumpster fire in the market, what's your recourse? What happens? Nothing. You just lost your money. I mean, and that just sucks. Here's a tissue. Sorry, so sad. Better luck next time. And that's a reality. I don't mean to be so light about it, but that's the reality for most folks. Yeah. So when you're looking at this, you have to look at diversification and, your exit strategy. Your exit strategy on stocks, buy low, sell high, right? We all know that one. What's your exit strategy on real estate? Yeah, you can buy low, sell high, but, I mean, when you're talking rentals, as long as that sucker is cash flowing, I mean, you can
Never
really
sell.
exit at any time,
You
right?
can't.
I don't know
Hold,
why you
hold.
would. Yeah, that's why they call it a buy and hold, right? You know? But
Exactly.
when you're in retirement or getting close to or you're supplementing income, that's why that is such a awesome asset class. And that's why we see it a ton in the real estate world or in the self-directed IRA world here, because it provides you that consistent, predictable income. You're insured. And when and if you sell, okay, one, it's cash flow, so it's paid for itself, but there's no capital gains tax when you sell in a retirement account.
That's
I'm all
huge.
about, like, if
No,
you
that's
guys could see me
huge.
now, my pom-poms are they say, "Team keep it." IRAs, 401ks, but yes, I'm all about team keep it, and as Melissa knows, we talk about this stuff inside and outside your retirement accounts. I think that's one of the big differences working with our team that's specialized is we don't just say, "Oh, it's just one account. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can't do." And then, hush, we're just one member of your financial team. Like, yes, we are, but you have to be able to zoom out and see the big picture. To your point, like, oh man, I only have that, like the client, I only had that one old 401k. Maybe it was, 75K, but the property you're looking at's 150. Can you do the deal? Well, if you don't have enough of your own cash, you can always find a buddy, find a partner. So whether that's your spouse's retirement account, could you partner those together? Yeah, it's just a 50-50 deal. That's like me and Melissa. We go in 50-50 on a deal, right? How are we going to split the profits, Melissa? Am I going to get 80 and you're going to get 20?
No way, Jose.
No.
We're partners. We are partners,
Don't
girl.
worry. That's not the math. No, it's 50-50, right? You split the profits 50-50. You split the expenses 50-50. It's whatever that percentage is. That's just partnering. So this is where the creativity comes in. Anything you do outside of a retirement account, you can do inside. Can you leverage? You can do that too. We'll dig more into that. But the point here, just to kind of keep it high level, is I mean, here's an exercise for all of you listening. Okay. And if you're not driving, get something to write with. And if you are driving, have your AI assistant make a list. Okay. All right. So, what I want you to do is look at your retirement accounts. So, whether it was an old 401k, traditional Roth, if you were in the military at some point, they have something called a TSP, a thrift savings plan. Thank you for your service. If you are no longer active, that is something you can self direct. If you were a teacher at some point, depending on your state, you may have a TRS account if you're in Texas, a OPERS if you're in Ohio, a CalPERS or CalSTRS if you're in California. Every state's a little different. They all have a million acronyms, as you can tell. But those are all accounts. If you're no longer active there, you can move those. So pull those statements. And I know some just think like they said it and forget it. And I mean, I will tell you, you want to guess what my record is for like old 401ks and IRAs being consolidated?
Oh my gosh, tell me.
Some, and I mean, some, if you're in this boat, don't feel bad because I hear it all the time. It's like, oh, I forgot about one. Oh, I
Yeah,
worked here. I think they gave me a match. Yeah,
yeah.
so the record's 17. I have yet to see that beat. So 17 from one individual.
Oh my
So
gosh.
so that's why I
Wow.
say this because some people when they're like, especially since we just had, like when task time comes around or you're getting all that paperwork out anyway. I mean, it's all electronic. I mean, you should have these logins. You should have it, right on your phone. See what you have and what it's earning for you. And if it's not like, oh my gosh, which I mean, most aren't, I will say, that is when it's time to look at a different way. and that's all this is. Like what I do here and what Melissa does day in and day out is just show you a different way. And to your point, I love the fact, and this is why I was so excited to do this, because you're so about the education part. And I am too. I mean, I tell every single person, I'm like, look, it's not a matter of if this makes sense, it's just when. Because it totally makes sense, and it's usually a page in someone's book in a chapter somewhere. You may be listening to this and only on chapter 1 or 2, and that's okay. By the time you get to 3 or 4, okay, it's time. It's just a matter of if you want some today money or you want tomorrow money, right? It's a diversification. If we're talking retirement accounts, it's typically all tomorrow money. But if we're talking today money, I do have one trick up my sleeve. Do you know what that trick is? The
Ooh,
today money
no.
trick.
No, please,
I
please
know you have
tell.
one of these types of accounts. So there's something called a solo 401k. All right. And I know you've heard me talk about this a million times. Okay. This is like the triple threat of retirement accounts, meaning that's a good thing. Like, it's like the real estate investors, even if you're not full time, like if you're just getting into this, I call it like your side hustle, to use a slang term, you're just creating additional revenue streams. This is for you. The solo 401k is just a 401k for a solopreneur. That's all it is. So if you have even if you're in W-2 world and they give you an awesome match, take the free money. I'm always going to tell you to do that. But you can have a solo 401k. Guess what 401ks let you do that IRAs don't?
I don't even know, and I have one. Please tell me.
I know. So,
Please tell
okay,
me.
this is great news for you. You can borrow against it. So 401ks you can borrow against 50% or 50,000, whichever's first. And this is a Department of Labor rule, so it's not me being, big mean Amanda specialized. No, it's just capped. Okay, I don't have any power there. All right, but I'm gonna put on my Robert Kiyosaki hat here and not Dave Ramsey hat. Okay, so if you have 100K in an old 401k, all right, how do we make our money make money for us? Okay. So riddle me this. You're in your 30s, early 40s. When can you take money out to live on? What age?
Is it
Do you know
fif
off the top of your head?
is it 55 or 65? I don't even know.
It's 59 and a half, so right in the
Okay.
middle.
Okay.
Okay, so
Alright.
59 and a half. That's when I always joke and I say, "Well, you're 21 all over again." All right, that's the age, okay? But if you're listening, you're like, "Well, Amanda, I'm 42, I can't touch this money yet. What the heck?" Like, but I want some today money. How can I use it? You can make your old 401k a solo K, borrow 50,000 of it, so 50%, and then you can take that 50,000 and put that as a down payment on a conventional loan for a turnkey rental property. Is an example. You're basically putting it in an investment that's going to give you a consistent, predictable monthly return. And guess what? That monthly return you get to put in your pocket. So it's extra cash flow. You're making today money off your tomorrow money. Now, some of you listening are probably like, but you said it's a loan, Amanda. I don't want to take out another loan. Okay. I hate calling this a loan because I want to call it forced savings. Because when you pay the loan back, it goes right back to your 401k. 100%. The principal and the interest. So I know a lot of us, especially in years past, are like, well, I have a home equity line of credit. I'm all about leveraging those too. That's another topic.
Yep.
Okay. But it works the same way, except the interest and the principal go back in your 401k.
You're just paying
So that
yourself
is,
back.
you're paying yourself back. Yeah. So that right there, that's a huge one that I think a lot of folks miss.
I
And,
missed it.
and
I had no idea. This is
yeah.
amazing. This
Okay.
is really
Well,
cool.
we'll talk after the show here, and I'll show you how to make some of that today money off of your tomorrow
Seriously. I'm
money.
like, see, this is why I love talking to you. I've learned so much already. This is great.
I always feel like, and when you're having those educational consultative calls with folks, and it's you're always asking, what are you trying to achieve? What's your number? What's the main objective here? And, when you're asking them, they're telling you, "Oh, I want cash flow. I'm making this much a month. I want to be making this much a month, and I don't want to trade time for money." You know, I always get like "Well, of course I want to save for my retirement." Everyone's like, "But you're the IRA gal. Like, I got to tell you it's for retirement." No. Tell me what you really want, and I will show you how you can use these tools, to get what you want today and tomorrow, and to show you how to partner accounts, how to like pay your kids and pay less taxes and then partner your kids' accounts with your accounts on deals so that you have generational cash flow. How you can use, I love the term OPI, and then I'm not talking nail polish. It's, other people's IRAs. It's they can fund your deal. If you were, say you're recently an entrepreneur, and banks don't typically love you. Sorry to be crass, but they like your W-2 earners, right? They want 2 years of tax returns. So you're like, "Crap, now I'm up that creek without a paddle. How am I gonna get money?" You know? Well, guess what? There's a lot of money in IRAs. They can fund your deals. You can be the bank, so like, with real estate as far as, like, turnkey rentals, construction, lending, and you're not just limited to this stuff, guys. I know that's the topic for today, but it really is invest in what you know. So if the stock market isn't giving you the oohs and ahs and, giving you that beach life or whatever that picture is for your retirement,
Mhm.
or getting you in that direction, and you're not moving, the needle's not moving at all, or it's moving backwards, that is your wake up call. I can't like find a bigger bruise to push on you. Like you you cannot be, and this is the other thing that I loved, because I mean what you're doing mostly, it's passive investments, right?
Yep. Well,
And we
yeah,
consider
as
it,
passive as possible.
well, that's exactly where I was going. Okay. You can't be 110% passive even about your passive investments. Okay. But it's not like, I always love your HGTVer, okay? "Yeah, I'm gonna do a side hustle and I'm gonna flip like 10 properties." I'm like, that is not a side hustle, that's another job. And if you're trying to do it to spend more time with your kids and family, like you're going the opposite direction because it's a lot more time intensive than the TV show puts on, okay? So you may want to experience, and dig into something that is more in the passive category versus the active category, and that's why this is such a great, it's a great option for folks to look into. I mean, guys, real estate since the beginning of time has always been the commodity. It's land, it's housing. I mean, literally since the beginning of time, before the stock market was even a thing, like how our country was created was over land, okay, and real estate. So when you're thinking of, and this is going back to that mindset shift that you're conditioned to have all of your eggs into the stock market, that's wrong. Like you do not have to do that. And you have the control and the education to figure out how to do it. The most important thing you have here, and I don't think this is stressed enough, is the team. Like, yes, you can educate, right? And you can read and listen, etc. But I've seen it time and time again. And I mean, how many times have you seen analysis paralysis where it's like you're beating your head against the desk?
So much. And it's because people try to do everything themselves. And I get that mentality, A type personality right here, that is me, I feel like I need to know everything first and I need to have all the answers first. And that's why I failed. I tell my listeners this all the time. I failed in real estate the first couple times I tried because I tried to go it solo. I tried to do it on my own. I thought that I had all the answers because I read all the books or well, in the very beginning, I didn't do any of that. Number 1, that was the problem, 0 education. Then once I started kind of searching for the education, you think that, "Oh, I don't know who to talk to." And I hear this too, people are like, "Oh, everybody's trying to sell me something." Like, how do I trust somebody that's trying to sell me something? Well, sometimes you do have to pay for that good advice. I mean, that's just straight up honesty. Like, the best advice out there, it's not always free. There's good education out there that's free, like, hello, podcast. But sometimes you do have to pay to play and you do have to pay the right people, but they're gonna get you there faster. They're gonna get you there with less mistakes, less risk. And so, yeah, there is a certain balance to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's, I always use the analogy, and you can tell I have a young son. It's like your Avengers squad, your financial Avengers team, right? It's the who, not the how. Like, I'm still learning. I've been in this industry 15 years and I still learn new things. The same with real estate. Like, every deal, every investment is going to teach you something. It's align yourself with the right team, the right companies that will give you that shortcut, tell you like it is, remove the obstacles so that you can hit play and get the return sooner. That's the key. Because if you're constantly in learn mode, okay, alls you're doing, and I joke in my disclaimer and say infotainment on purpose, because it's like you can get all of the information. And I mean, I don't think I have to say it out loud. I'm a big freaking nerd, you guys. I love learning stuff. What I also love is taking that complicated topic, breaking it down into freaking plain English, so much so, like, my 13-year-old can explain a Roth IRA. Like, if my 13-year-old can understand how a Roth IRA works and how rental properties give you cash flow. Now, she doesn't quite understand the tax benefit piece yet as far as depreciation and all of that,
Hey, I
but
I don't. Give let's make that well known. I I don't think anybody knows everything about taxes. I don't even think our government knows
you
everything
don't
about taxes.
have to. Like, that's the thing. Like, you don't have to. You just have to know who does. That's the key. And you're correct. You do have to, sometimes you have to pay, for advice. Don't get stuck down the path. And I don't know if I ever shared with you like my little, I don't know what I would even call it, or call it my own meme. Like, you have your gurus and you have your do's. Make sure you're with the do's that are actually doing the thing that they're teaching so that you can learn from others' mistakes, and it's just a shortcut. That's it. Like, I'm gonna date myself. Like, I loved Cliff Notes as a kid. Now it's like Chat GPT, it's all done for you. That's a whole nother topic. But give me the summarized version, and I know where to get the long version, but give me exactly what I need to know to get the A, right? Okay, well, give me exactly what I need to know to make the decision if I'm going into this market, or this property or that property, or this much in stocks, or this much in real estate. And that's all it takes. And I hate using baptism by fire, but you learn better from doing. I can sit here, you know this about me, I can SOP and KPI ya all day long, meaning like how we operate our business. It's all SOP. For those of you that don't know what the heck these acronyms are, it's, standard operating procedure is just fancy for checklist. That's all it is. It's just fancy for checklist. So for all my Post-it lovers out there, I gotcha. Okay. The KPI, key performance indicators. So we're watching the process, and sometimes you got to tweak it a little, and that's okay. That is exactly what your investment experience is going to be like. You may do your first, and you've had this experience as an investor too, Melissa. Like you said, the first couple, it's like, I fired myself from doing all the things. And that's probably one of the hardest things to do. I'm a type A. I'm like steadily going into a type B. It's like that done is better than perfect. But I like building the system so it does it as close to perfect as possible. I think that's where I'm adjusting to that that period. But I think with all of us, that is definitely a shift and just a conversation to have with yourself. As far as the diversification goes, I mean, do yourself a favor and just have the conversation. Like, I'm sure we're gonna have like contact info and all of that stuff in the show notes here. Like, if you listen to this, and Melissa, I know you do the same. I give you the same time that you've given me, whether I know you've listened to this or not, to make sure that, you have that personalized, action plan of, okay, here's where you're at, here's where you want to be. And sometimes self direction makes sense now. Like I said before, sometimes it makes sense in chapter 5, chapter 15, right? It's just a matter of when it makes sense. It's not if. But if you fail to plan, you plan to
Fail.
fail. Like, you have to get that action steps written down, your own SOP for your own, whether it's your financial future, your monthly cash flow, your retirement, leaving stuff to your kiddos, getting stuff going for your kiddos. So then what you can do as, kind of putting my mom hat back on, I can go back and show my kids this stuff. And I'm showing them at a young age because I don't know about you. I don't want them to have to learn the way that I learned. And I don't want them to have those boo-boos. Like, I want them to know right out of the gate, you know, it's okay to fail and fail fast, right? I'm sure we've all heard that, but I mean, if you can avoid it and profit in the meantime, yeehaw. Right? And I say that because we've all had, especially in retirement accounts, we all try to like, okay, we're going to go off of the beaten path. We're going to pick this stock and like, oh, it did good until it didn't. Right? I think we've
Uh,
all
guil guilty of a Robin Hood account right here.
right? I think we've all done that. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves, but that is the type of conversation that not only you have with yourself, but you have with team members like myself, like Melissa, to say, hey, it's cool. We've all done it. And we've done good stuff and we've done stupid stuff. We just don't repeat the stupid stuff, right? Going back to the education, have the conversation, create the action plan, and execute. So have your SMART objectives, set a timeline and do it. So if on your goal list, it was, I'm going to get into 2 rentals this year. Okay. All right. You're going to get into 2 rentals by when? I don't want to say the date. So this is evergreen, but find out where you're at in the year and like put a deadline on it and then reverse engineer that. Okay. To get to 2 rentals, what do I have to do? Okay, well, I gotta figure out where the heck my money is first. Like, that's always your first step, is figure out the money. So whether that's, getting a self-directed IRA, getting financing, getting a HELOC on your, primary, etcetera. I think that last part, which you touched on, is when you're picking your team as well as an asset and a market, it's trust but verify, right? And this is a horrible analogy, but I'm gonna use it because your listeners are pretty cool, right?
They're the coolest.
Okay.
Absolutely. Throw it down for us.
I still want this to bite me in the butt.
Nope,
Yeah.
nope, we're all cool here. Throw it down.
Okay. So, I mean, we're young, dumb in our 20s, right? Okay. May or may not have had that fling, that one night fling, or, may not have. Okay. So, probably didn't put too much effort into that. Not too much trust, but verify into that. Just saying, like you should. Let's all be smart. Okay. But now, if you're married, okay, you went out on a couple dates. You got to know the guy, got to know his family. You know what you did? You qualified that sucker because that was going to be a long term relationship, right? Guess what retirement accounts are, guys? They're long-term relationships. Guess what buy and holds are? They're long-term relationships. So, yes, you ask the questions. You get to know the people you are working with, just like you would put more time into the one you're going to marry versus that one night stand. I know that is a horrible analogy, but it's one of those times in your life where things weren't so serious and it's like, oh, it's just that same logic, okay? Not exact same, but you get where I'm going with this, okay?
No, I
But
love that. I love that. That is actually a brilliant thing. I see that mistake honestly like so much. People just like jump into things and do things and then they point fingers and they want to point blame at everybody else. And I'm like, you had all the time in the world. You know what I mean, to meet the right people and the introductions were given to you or you didn't ask and I see that so much.
oh, I have a big one there, okay? So, this is like what I do, they are self-directed IRAs, okay? It is on you. Okay. Like the success or failure is on you, and you have to be comfortable with that accountability. Let me be clear, it's your money anyways, whether it's in a self-directed account or not. So it's your money. It's already on you. Okay? Newsflash. All right? But It is I always explain that. This is a self-directed IRA or 401k. It is not a done for you and you do nothing IRA, 401k. Nothing in this world worth anything is like that. Let's be real. Like, you've gotta put in a little bit of the work, okay? You have to be accountable. Like, one thing I'll share, I probably shouldn't, like, my team's probably gonna kick my butt here at Specialized, but it's like, who's not meant to have a self-directed IRA? I'll tell you.
Ooh, great
Some
question. Great
so,
question.
someone that is not and this is probably the same with, like, doing your own investments. Someone that is not comfortable making decisions for themselves or having that accountability. Like, if you find yourself in the victim blame game seat of that finger pointing, like, self-direction's probably not for you because it's on you to make those decisions. If making a decision gives you so much anxiety that you're just like, "Ah, I can't sleep at night and, I can't eat," like, this is not for you. Like, it will not be a pleasant experience, and that's okay because it's not everybody's cup of tea to be able to make those decisions. But I always and I'm sure you never hear this from a custodian, I will tell you that, but we want you to be comfortable and empowered, and we will pour all of the education and resources into you, so that you don't feel like you're on an island making decisions. Like, I have a whole team in Albuquerque because I think most and Melissa, you've been through this process. They they worry about the logistics, like, "Okay, first, I'm gonna tell you the A to B, the B to C in super detailed. Then when you get with some when you get with, like, a Melissa and they say, "Okay, here is your this is the property," you are gonna be, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting my first rental. What do I do now?" Like, you are not going to remember anything I said. I'm just being real. You won't. You'll be all excited and you're like, "Oh crap, I forgot everything Amanda said. What do I do now?" You know what? That's why we have a whole team that will walk you through, "Hey, you have your contract. This is the name of your retirement account. This is where you have to send your earnest money. And this is you need to make sure you have your insurance, your property management agreement, everything's in the name of the IRA." All the way up into the closing table. And you guys have rock star teams that you work with that walk you through that as well. So you're not a lone soldier trying to figure it all out on your own. And I think that self-direction, like, when you hear that and when you're looking into diversifying, and doing something that your trusted financial professionals have told you the opposite of your whole life can be intimidating, especially if that's not your wheelhouse. So don't let that scare you. Like, bust through that fear. Just because you're doing something different doesn't mean it's wrong. You have like and just because you're going out and doing that different thing doesn't mean you're doing it all on your own. I think that's very important.
Well, and asking questions too, like if it's always the hardest conversation to have when after the fact somebody's done a transaction and they closed on a property whatever and then they come back and go, "Oh, well now I have 10 questions." I mean, it's not that I'm saying it's too late, but like the time is before. So going back to any investor that I talk to from the very beginning, those are the time to bring up questions, but then you're gonna have more questions, and then those answers are gonna have more questions, and so that's why you need to talk to the professionals to figure out, A, what the what the answers are, this is for you, but then also is that gonna spark more questions along the way because there's things that you don't know, and
Mhm.
so having the conversation with you and your team to go, "Hey, is an IRA or a solo 1K or whatever self-directed, is it for me? Can I do it? Do I have an IRA somewhere that I don't know about?" Ho but these conversations are gonna spark new questions. You don't know what they're going to be until you have those conversations. That is huge.
Yeah, no, those questions are you're never gonna stop asking questions. My silly analogy, and I don't know if I made this up one time, but it's like you never really wanna be a ripened fruit because all you have left to do is rot, right? Like, you always you always wanna keep growing and learning, and after the other part too is you learn by doing. And we all learn differently, but once you go through, like, your first investment property, you're like, "Oh," like, you don't even need all of those checklists again. And a lot of us learn differently. Like, my daughter, I could show flashcards to, she can memorize everything. My son, he's more hands-on, what do they call it? Like a kinetic learner, it's gotta have motion and activity to it, physicality, and he'll remember it. And man, he can tell you, that like it's just they learn differently. He learns through doing. She can just look at something and remember it. Some are a hybrid of both. But the point is you learn, you ask the questions, but take freaking action. Like, do something. Now you're going to have a result. It's hopefully great, but it may not be so great. But now you have experienced that and you're going to learn and grow from that. Profitability wise, as a person, as an investor, as a business owner, all of the above. Right. So I think that's the most important part is just start somewhere and take action, and you will still continue to learn. It's not like college and then you just take the test and you get the diploma. It's horrible. Horrible to think. I mean, I'm not against college. Don't get me wrong, but my point is that it's not the mentality for investing. Um, you know, the one thing, if I can give you guys like one piece of advice, like, where do I start? I mean, I'm listening to this stuff and I'm a newer investor or I'm young and I need to start putting something somewhere. Where do I begin? Okay, here's my always start on the because there's personal and business, guys. When you hear 401ks and IRAs, just so you know the difference, 401ks are for businesses. So you got to have some earned income, even as a sole proprietor or an LLC. But for an IRA, all of you listening here, sorry, Canada, if you're listening, you can't do this. But okay, if you have a heartbeat, earned income, and a social security number, you can have an IRA. Those are personal accounts, right? Even I can show you how to give that kids can have these. They need the earned income. That's the secret sauce. Okay, but a Roth IRA. You guys will hear me say Roth, 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 Roth. Why? And some of you listening may not know what that means. There's two tax environments. One's kick the can down the road. So when you take the money out, when we're 59 and a half and older, we got to pay the tax man on everything. All the earnings, the principal, all of it. And that sucks. Okay. So late 90s comes this Roth. Here's the other tax environment. Okay. You pay the tax on the seed when it's itty bitty bitty and not the crop. So when you take the money out at 59 and a half, you do not pay a dime in taxes. It is what I call, and you can mock me on this, I hope that you will, tax free. And yes, if you are in your car or listening, say tax free out loud and annoyingly like that, and you will be smiling all pretty because we do not want to pay taxes. If you can get tax-free growth, you are winning. Period. Okay? If you're investing in real estate, stocks, whatever widget, if you're investing and the profits are tax-free, you are winning, my friend. Okay? So the more you can get growing tax-free, the better you are. What is tax-free growth? What account? A Roth IRA. Who can have one? Anybody with a heartbeat, earned income, social security number. Now, the IRS only lets us put 8,000 a year, which kind of sucks. They limit it. Okay. So if you're coming to me and you're like, oh, I'm 57, I never did any of this. Can I take 500K and just pop it in a Roth? No, you can't. Okay. So start now. But my point is, if you're saving money and you're not quite sure what the heck you want to do investing wise, that's okay. Like, be okay with that. You're just at that part in the journey. Okay. But if you're saving money in a savings account, what's a savings account earning you these days, Melissa?
Oh,
Yeah.
0.001?
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, it's not a lot. Even the high yield stuff's like in the threes. Okay. So it's low. All right. It's not hedging inflation. Okay. So you put money away for a rainy day. That's why you save. That I joke and call it the fund, right? Something happens. Oh, you got money. Okay. Money you put in a Roth IRA, that 7,000. Can you take it out at any time?
I don't know, can
Tax-free,
I?
penalty-free? Well, you take money out of a savings account, tax-free, penalty-free at any time, right? That's the fund. Well, guess what? You can take money out of a Roth IRA, the contributions only, that's why I'm saying 7K, at any time, tax-free, penalty-free. It's just the earnings that have to stay in there until you're 59 and a half. Why they don't shout this from the rooftops, and this is what you have the crazy economists screaming about on CNN, I do not know. But everyone here, including children, because I mean, play with a compound interest calculator. You'll see why I am saying this slowly. Is start with a Roth IRA. You can put 7,000 in, invest accordingly. If you have that moment, especially if you are younger, okay, you can take the money out. It's just the earnings that have to stay. All right. That is where everyone should start. Okay. And how can you grow it? You can grow it the traditional route. You can grow it in real estate. You can grow it with tax liens, whatever you see fit. You can, you and your buddies can be private lenders to each other. Like these are things that you can do that you probably aren't aware of. So that is my PSA of the day, if you will. Like, yes, diversifying your retirement accounts is phenomenal. Real estate's an awesome choice. You have to have a special platform to be able to do this. Specialized Trust Company is that platform. I'm happy to help. Contact info's in the show notes. Specializedtrustcompany.com. Find me there too. But lastly, the key is just take action for yourself. Do the one thing. Set the goal. Within the next 30 days, I'm going to have a conversation with Amanda, or I'm going to pull my retirement account statements, or I'm going to get on Melissa's calendar and see what a rental property might look like for me. Just set the timeline, set the goal, and do the thing. It is not hard to pick up the phone call. I'm going to even let you cheat and give you a link to my calendar so you could take the scariness out of it. I know I fear, I'm raising a teenager now, so I'm fearful with some of their communication. I'm like, you guys do need to talk to people. You are not going to be able to transact via text your whole life.
Right. That's valid. Very, very valid. Very valid.
But no, this was phenomenal. What else did you wanna add before we wrap? I know we're coming up on an hour, so I wanna make sure we're respectful of time.
Oh my gosh. No, this was all perfect. In fact, I was going to ask you the last question that I didn't even have to ask you. And you guys, it like wasn't like choreographed. Like I didn't tell her like, hey, talk about this. Like literally, I was thinking about that because my kids are older. They're graduating college, they're finding their forever jobs, and they're now making these decisions. And, I'm thinking about that generation now of, what should they be doing? Where should they be putting extra money and savings? And again, I learned something new from you. I did not know about the Roth IRA that you can take out that investment. I had no idea. And again, you guys, we are not taught this stuff. This is stuff that I don't know why this stuff isn't taught in school. I don't know why I have the conspiracy theories on this, of course, because we are taught and raised to be workers, not necessarily entrepreneurs, or to get out of that system to be financially free. And so we have to actively search for this information. And this is why these conversations are so important for not only us, but for our children. We want to give them that leg up, and we
Yeah.
want to teach them financial accountability, and we want them to have time freedom and all the things. And that bit of information was so awesome. And I'm so glad that you said that. So thank you for that.
No, you're very welcome. I love everything that you're doing. I'm so glad to see you just thriving and sharing and, like, a all of the things that, that's just, your personality has always just you just have that helpful soul, like anyone that ever interacts with you is just like, "Oh, this is so great." Da, 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 da," so I love all of the things that, you've touched, you've been able to produce and create is just phenomenal. And yeah, I'm glad to see you continuing on this journey because that like is your gift. Like you definitely have a gift for that. 'Cause not everyone has that. Sorry, I don't mean to get all mushy, but I appreciate you doing this. Like, I'm a big, attitude of gratitude, and that's huge, huge.
Oh, thank well, right back at you. Like, I mean, we girls, like I said at the beginning, we gotta stick together and, we're doing this out of obviously we all make livings in real estate, but it's much deeper than that. And that's what comes across with you and why I resonate with, working with you so much. So, anyway, so again, Amanda said this, but I'm going to repeat it. Check out the show notes. We are going to have a link for you guys there. So go ahead and click on that. We're going to put you guys in contact with Amanda and her team. Just have those conversations. Don't be scared. Nobody's twisting your arm. This is your time to ask the questions. Is this right for you? Does it make sense for you? Can you find old accounts that you may or may not even know exist? And all those questions, all the nitty-gritty, I guarantee you there is not a question that Amanda and her team have not heard. If there is, right? I'd be shocked if there's a new question that they have not heard.
Yeah, usually if I hear something that, like, I have not heard, like, I'll go on social media with it, like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, listen to this."
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when we've been doing this for so long, I mean, I tell people challenge me. Ask me something that I don't know about, real estate in my world specifically. Clearly, you just taught me new stuff. I'm not saying I know everything. There is so much for me to learn, but right in my daily, life, I want investors to throw the hard stuff out and be like, "Hey, let's if I don't have the answer, I'm certainly going to go to the people that have it."
Absolutely, and those are always, like, the most rewarding, like, I was at an event not too long ago, and there's a gentleman that he's been I found this out later, that he has been self-directing for over 30 years. That's rare to have just to run into someone that has been self-directing, so obviously I did explain it is a small circle, like, we knew a lot of the same people. Like, our paths probably had crossed at some point. That's like how small of a world it was. But he was just like rapid fire. And it was hilarious because I didn't know this at the time. It was a new group I had just met. It was my first time kind of meeting and greeting everybody. And he was basically like my test. He's like, "Oh yeah, she knows her stuff." Like she passed.
Oh
She's
my gosh.
she's welcome anytime. But I was dying because I was like,
Oh
I
my
didn't
god.
realize. I just thought I was having like a conversation, and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, "Well,
not
thanks."
fair.
I was like, "But, I've seen this, and have you ever thought of that?" Blah blah blah. He's just like, "Huh." Huh,
Okay.
like, but he was
Oh my
literally
gosh.
teeing it up that way, which,
Oh my gosh.
that always just makes your heart feel good. It's just like, "Oh, okay,"
Yeah,
but
yeah, and then and part of me, I'm like, "Did he do it because you're a woman?"
if you can imagine, and I know you guys can't see me, but I have big baby cheeks. And yes, I'm in my 40s now, but I started doing this in my 20s. So I always started with like 1 foot in the hole because here's this 20-some-year-old blonde chick talking about retirement accounts and tax free profits, So it's like, what do you know about retirement? It's like, well, all the revenue code. Yeah, but when you can marry that with non traditional assets and you know how all of that works, and then you really figure out like why the tax code is, taller than I am when it's printed out. That's when it gets fun.
Right. Yeah. Like you said at the beginning, you called yourself a nerd, so
Yeah, nerds are the best. Like I don't care. I like being a nerd. I love learning, and I love I like being, this is gonna sound weird, but I like being wrong. Like I like figuring out like, oh, you could do it this way too. Like, oh, okay, great. Like, and I think that's a humbleness that has to I don't know, that's a humbleness I guess you get through experience. I know you've met those personalities that wanna be right, right, right all the time. We all have, let's be honest, we all have those in our circles.
yes.
You always
Yes.
gotta make it their idea, you know what I mean?
1,000%. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I mean, that's just, it's just a humbleness of, yes, you could be right or double check math. Like no one's perfect, but I think that is just one of those I don't know, we call it maybe a personality quality or a trait that even as investors, I think you all have. And if you look in your circle, that's probably one of those traits that you don't ask about, but when you dig a little deeper, you find out, oh yeah, that's true. That is a quality I kind of look for, and that's usually what most do. So yeah, I'm in good company here. So I appreciate you there
Yeah,
as far as
definitely.
that.
Oh my gosh, no. I'm very excited for everybody to, jump on the call with you, and you'll have to give me some feedback and let me know, how it goes, and we'll have to do another, part 2 of this where we can, go a little bit more into the weeds. I think that this conversation was perfect, though, because you laid everything out, like, so perfectly, entry level, but you guys, when you jump on the call with her, get your questions lined up, go through the checklist, or her team, whoever you're gonna be talking to, and there's gonna be, stuff that you don't know, and everything from how to finance it, the options, the no's, what you can do, what you can't do, they've got it. You guys don't need to worry about that. That should not be what holds you back, what you don't know, because there are people on your side that do know what they're doing, and that's what this is. It's about leveraging other people's knowledge and experience, and so I am just so excited to, get people, get going and just do something, and like you said, take action. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing your knowledge with everybody, and, we'll do a part 2 next time.
That sounds like a plan. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Melissa, for putting this together. And yeah, we'll be back for part 2 and hopefully have some great tax sheltered success stories to share too.
Oh, that's the goal, that's the goal. Perfect. Thank you, have a good day.
All right. Bye.